Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I am joined today by Claude Silver. I'm very excited to chat with you because, first and foremost, I feel like this has been like a long time coming. We've been in each other's orbits for a very long time, and we're finally getting you to the Culture Impact Lab here in May in Chicago. We're doing a little happy dance around that. And so, Claude, I'll let you do your own introduction, kind of jump into it.
All right, let's do it. Well, it's great to be here, Angela. It is a long time coming. I feel like I'm seeing an old friend, right? And which is always makes me feel good. Yeah, my name's Claude Silver. I'm a mom of two young kids, 4.5 and 7, which is really kind of my full time job on top of being a chief heart officer at VaynerX, where I work with Gary Vaynerchuk. And for those that don't know what VaynerX is, we are literally a full stop production company. We do advertising, marketing for Fortune 50 brands, mostly on social, and we're global and we have a great time doing it. And I'm a Taurus, which I always like to share. I
And
love
also your
snowboarding.
sign.
What sign are you?
I'm a Virgo.
Yeah, well, we're both Earth.
Yes,
That
both are.
might be it. That might be it. Yeah, that might be our mono y mono.
Mm,
Um, and I love what I do. What I do and spending time with people and really, I think, trying to encourage people and support people while they are on their journey or journeys is what I love to do. It's an honor to be there. It's very like spiritual work for me in many, many ways. And watching someone kind of break through, I, it gives me the chills. And it's also like, wow, thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. You know,
yes,
that's I would say that's me in a nutshell.
I love that. And before we pressed record, we had a little bit of time to just, I always like to talk to guests about like what's on your heart and mind, right? We never really, for these podcasts, we really don't prepare, and it's kind of on purpose because the world is moving really quickly, and things are changing quite rapidly. So I usually spend like 10, 15 minutes just saying, hey, what's on your mind? And you mentioned to me that you had jotted down something recently, and it was this quote, which is, we're not choosing between heart and performance, we're integrating them. And I felt like that was such a beautiful summarization of what you just mentioned, and it is kind of the tough thing to balance from a people perspective. So a lot of us are in roles where we are, you know, bringing people together to accomplish a common mission within an organization, within a community, and that is the balance, right? We have to achieve goals and hit our mission and be performing to that mission every day, and and we have to be able to recognize that we're all people and we're dynamic beings. And so tell me a little bit about what that means for you.
Yes, yes. So, in the context of like the chief heart officer role, when Gary and I created this, Gary Vaynerchuk, my boss, when he and I created this, and I asked him, I said, "How do we know if I'm successful?" And
Mm,
he said, and this is the job description I have: you'll touch every single human being and infuse the agencies with empathy. And we were 400 then, we're 2,000 globally, and it made sense to me, and it continues to make sense to me only because of my personality, I think. Now, if you had if I had seen that job description in black and white, I don't know if I would have understood it as much. But what it really means to me is, people, I don't know, in the 70s or 80s, some person said people are our greatest asset. And I say, no, people are your company. You don't have a company without them. I don't want to look at humans as assets. I don't want to look at humans as employees, actually. I want us to bring more of ourselves, our humanity, into the workplace because A, we spend a heck of a lot of time there. B, I have watched myself and many other people shrink in the workplace. And that's not who they are outside. That's not who they are. So why do we come into the workplace and feel like we have to armor up or shrink? Why do we come into the workplace and say, don't come near me? I don't want you close to me. You don't know me, right? And to me, that is a wasted opportunity for
Mm.
connection. That's a wasted opportunity for human to human. We belong on planet Earth together. Our blood is red. We might have very different lived experiences, but we have very similar emotions. Like, why does it have to be so archaic and it's just I guess the working world doesn't has never really worked for me because it has always felt a little bit stagnant, I would say. And so when you think about bringing your heart, who you are, sharing parts of yourself to work in the workplace, I believe that is only going to foster a better relationships within. And what does that do?
Mm.
Hopefully, it fosters and nurtures incredible work that you're proud of. So that's what that really means to me. It's literally like you need both. And internally, we call our culture the honey empire.
Mm.
So it's not the empire of honey, the honey empire. It's 51% honey, 49% empire. And that 1% does make all the difference. And that is where we do lean into emotional intelligence. We do lean into self awareness. One of the things I'm desperately trying to get across into the water is emotional fluency, which is we all have a choice on how we are going to act and react every minute of every day. So emotional intelligence is telling me, Claude, you're aware of your feelings, right? Yes, I feel scared right now. Emotional fluency is how are you going to act? Am
Mm.
I going to charge at someone? Am I going to shrink? Am I going to say, you know what? That comment didn't make me feel good. What am I going to do? So, in a roundabout way, this all ladders to accountability, not only of the human being, but accountability of our workplaces.
Where do you, so what you're mentioning, I think, is first and foremost, I think what employees have been asking for many, many years. It's really like bringing the human condition into work, which really shouldn't be separate from how we interact. But for some reason, we've like sterilized it, right? We've said put your work face on. Things like professionalism, like all these things have been incorporated into um, thinking about work differently than actual life, which, I have my own theory as to why that's happened, from a historical perspective, but we're here in this moment now. And you're seeing, every generation is asking for what you're talking about with different words. And what drives me a little nutty is every generation, I'm a millennial. So, first of all, we're old news. People still talk about us like,
Yes,
like we're,
yes,
like we're still, the upcoming generation. I'm like, look, I'm almost 40. My
right.
friends have been married twice. They
Yeah,
have, like, we are old news at this
yes,
point.
I hear you.
But every generation we've been through this, and it's like the previous generation is like, these kids, they're so entitled. They want more. They want like empathy in the workplace. And it's like, I have to remember or remind people that we've been asking for things like dignity, respect, like like generations on generations. We're just using different words. There's different visibility around it. And so what you're talking about is just so foundational, but it's also revolutionary because we haven't gotten it right.
Amen to that. I echo everything you're saying, and I truly believe we can get there. I really do. And I think it has to do one of the things that I think will help us get there is an understanding of our differences and an acceptance of our differences, and also then a coming together and exploring those differences and bringing them into the soup that we're making together. So what I really mean by that is there's such a desire, I think, to other people to label people as X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. We label ourselves, by the way, as X, Y, and Z. I said, I'm a mom, I'm a chief heart officer, I'm a Taurus, I love snowboarding. So I labeled myself a little bit. But we do that so often with judgment. And we do that so often, which ostracizes another person. I don't think that's our intent. I don't think we go out of our way to make someone feel other or not included, but the impact of our actions and our words do that. And that is what we have to fight against now.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the themes for the Culture Impact Lab in May is plural voices, shared values.
Mhm.
And this is, I think, something that leaders are really struggling with, right? Where organizations are really values are really tied to culture and how we operate and what matters to us. And we also have people within that structure that have different backgrounds, perspectives, lived experiences, ways of thinking, ways of operating. And I think one of the things that you're talking about is how do we harness that beautiful diversity, because those things matter. They actually lead to better performance. We know that what the research says.
Yep.
It
Yep.
leads to better performance. I think the challenge is we sometimes shy away from things we're not familiar with.
Yes. And I think some of us shy away and some of us absolutely avoid and put a wall down, and you cannot enter at all.
Mm,
And again, this all depends on where this person's coming from, or groupthink, herd mentality. But who doesn't want to go into the workplace and feel as though they're having equal opportunities, and they're having equitable rights, and they are being seen for who they are, right? For the potential that they are today. That's what I mean, for me, that's what it's about. And there's we're all stuck on feedback. We're all stuck on, what does feedback mean, and how do you give it, and why do people just shut down? And we all know what goes on in our brains and all of that. Feedback to me is a conversation. And it's a conversation because we've connected already. This isn't my first, second, or third time talking, sharing space with you, having a coffee, I don't know, talking about the Mets or the Jets. Like, it's about connection. And I think the more we spend time with one another, especially, leaders and people that they manage, there can be a connection of safety that is created, so that when I go to give you feedback, it's coming from a kind place. All I want is to see you soar. I want to see your wings spread like an eagle. And there's some work to do to get there.
yes. Yeah, and the what you're talking about is really it's everything's relational. We are humans. Like that is just kind of core to who we are. And if I know you have my best interest in mind, it's also, kind of primal, right? I mean, the same interactions we have around survival, that machinery hasn't changed at
No,
all.
we haven't evolved past Maslow's pyramid, by the way. We're
We
still
have
there.
you're absolutely right. We have not. So like if I feel a threat, like you're giving me feedback and we haven't built that relational element, that is literally a threat response in my brain, the same threat response as me running from a saber-toothed tiger, many, many years ago. It's the same response, and we just haven't evolved much. The modern day has evolved. And so that's why when I talk with people about leadership, and I think about like the education that some of us go through or the experiences we go through to be a leader, we don't unless we really lean into the relational element or the psychology of humans, it's not taught a ton in like an MBA course or your PhD or whatever you're. So that's also like just a foundational thing I talk a lot about. I think we need to integrate that into the education.
I mean, Angela, I echo that so much. I think, again, as a parent with young kids, it's magical to them. I wrote a note. My child lost their tooth. I was the tooth fairy last night, and they believe in the tooth fairy. And yeah, my name is Tooth Fairy Mary. Like, I wrote a whole note, and she's so magical and mystical and creative and imaginative, and we are all like that
Mm,
as children, especially if we're given that opportunity to be free like that. And then we get into school, we get into higher education, and it becomes about cognition. It's no longer about the emotions. And I don't see a time or a place when we can ever get back to our emotions unless you're in therapy, unless you go to a 12-step group, unless something happens to you and you need to explore who you are, right? We don't teach this in the workplace. So, how can we expect everyone to understand relationships? How can we expect everyone to understand you have your intent is your aim is true, but the way that landed, eh, that is not that didn't land well. And let me tell you why if you're not aware, right? And that's that aha, that's wake up that I really feel like we are on the dawn of, but we need a lot of work until we get there.
The big thing I feel that's missing is this idea of emergence when
Mm,
it comes to organizations and how we lead in organizations, right? So we're so focused on these like short-term KPIs and these, we frame work as like these stagnant milestones and these posts.
yeah.
And I think emergence is a theme for me this year as I'm like, again, I'm a big nerd. So like every
Uh,
year I'm researching something or like digging into something. And
yeah.
this idea of being able to see signals and then
Mhm.
act on them in real time.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Like, does that resonate with you
Oh
when it
my
comes
God,
to
I love it because it's being culturally relevant. It's being a part of the zeitgeist. It's being a part of a society rather than just an observer. And so I completely respect that and think that it's actually an obligation,
hmm
I think, of ours as humans to do some digging and understand what's going on in the culture. And it might not have anything to do with us. It might not have anything to do with the color of my skin,
hmm
but it has to do with the color of other people's skin,
hmm
right? Or their beliefs
hmm
or neurodivergency, right? Like that's where that empathy, that compassion, that kindness needs to shine through
hmm
in this area of relevance and in this area of we're not alone. I'm not just out here by myself.
Yeah.
There's Angela, there's people
hmm
out there that we're all living and breathing and so this comes down to belonging for me
hmm
and really doing my best to make sure that people feel like they have a sense of belonging within the workplace so that they can be brave and they can take swings.
Yeah. So what does that require of, if a leader wants to be a heart leader, right? Somebody who is thinking about the human, is thinking about this idea of emergence, of, I know we overuse the word authenticity, but, I'll go back to just being human, right? What are some things that we need to almost like debunk, I guess, from a workplace perspective, so it
Yes.
could be more of that.
Okay. Well, we need to debunk that emotions aren't allowed in the workplace. Well, we're emotional people.
Yes.
So how can we cannot just shut down our emotions. We have to have an allowance for them in the workplace. And so, what is that allowance? And is that something that people know? Are they drinking that water? Not Kool Aid. Are they drinking the water? Does everyone know it's okay to find someone and share this with? If it's not your leader, your manager, maybe it's HR, maybe it's your friend. Like it's okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that leaders are not the smartest people in the room,
Mm,
and that's not their job. And I think we need to debunk that for
yeah.
sure. I think we need to debunk top down management or leadership is the way to go. And what I say goes because my name on the door or I'm paying you. I think that's another thing. Don't speak unless you're asked to speak. I mean, there's cultures there that you're not your input, especially if you're a more junior player, your input isn't wanted,
Mm,
right? Ideas come from everywhere. We know that. We know that. So I think that's the other thing. I think I guess I would love all organizations to be flat. in a perfect world. I really would. I
Mhm.
understand why we have hierarchy. I do. Everyone needs to be promoted, and growth is a massive elixir to all of us. So we all want to know that we're making progress, and that progress looks like a different title for the most part, or a different salary. And that's all great. However, I think we assume that all leaders are great leaders, that we have trained, that this world has somehow trained managers to be great managers. We haven't. What happens is, Angela, congratulations, you're now a senior manager. Here's your raise. Bye.
Yep. You're a
And then
great
you have
individual contributor. You're a rock star,
amazing
but you don't know how to manage people.
5 people that are looking to you for direction. And you're like, I have no idea what? So, so we have to debunk all of those things. And then I think the other thing is like, culture is not HR's job. Culture is not the CEO job. Culture is everyone's job. And culture is happening in micro moments. It is not the foosball table, and it's not when you have pizza Fridays. It is happening in the hallways. It is happening in those micro moments, walking to coffee with someone, hey, how are you? I noticed on Instagram you got engaged. Just
Yeah.
real life.
Yeah. Yeah. And a culture is also, to add to that is the moments that we sometimes don't talk about, like even the silence, or when things are, what am I trying to say, the behaviors that are tolerated, bad behaviors that are tolerated. The other side of that, I think, is also the things that we let slide, and the things that are unsaid.
Thank you. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that is something that happens on an hourly basis, if not more. And it takes someone who either doesn't give a what to speak
Hmm.
up, or
Hmm.
it's just like, whoa, that is absolutely unacceptable what you just said. Whether or not you say it in public or you say it in a room with that person. I think that is such a big, big point, because then if it's not said, it becomes part of the
Yes.
culture. And we're allowed to talk about locker room stuff. We're allowed to
Hmm.
badmouth people that have seen or unseen ability, whatever it is. It's
Hmm.
like, ugh,
Yeah, I can't remember who said it, and I wish I knew the person, and it's not me, so I will not credit it. But someone said culture is your worst behavior at your company.
hmm
And
hmm
I believe that, because,
yeah,
yeah, there's a witnessing of those behaviors, and a deterioration that happens when those things happen
yes,
pretty quickly.
yeah. I love that. I don't know who said it either, but I also remember Seth Godin said, culture is what people say about you when you leave the room.
Hmm.
So same
Hmm.
kind of thing. Like,
Yes.
um, yeah, it's wild. All of these things, though, I think if we can get into early education, if we can get into our educational systems, if we can all agree, huge, huge statement, but if we can agree to come to the table with tenderness, with an understanding that everyone has their own life, and then they open their laptop at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
I just think it would be a happier and healthier place.
I agree. And one thing I want to ask and touch on is, you're a lot of us are in positions doing this work, and we some people don't have the support from our CEO or our leadership team. We're kind of on an island. I know, like, being a chief people officer, I have been in that situation many times in my career before I started my business. So what does that partnership need to look like? Because I know that, you and Gary have a great relationship, and he believes in the role and supports the role. So tell us a little bit. What does that take, essentially, from a
Oh
partnership?
my gosh. Well, it takes trust.
Mm,
It literally takes seeing someone, I'm sorry, it literally takes seeing something in someone that is their strength
mm,
and putting them in positions to succeed. So, for example, my story at Vayner is I started as the first SVP of basically client partnerships. We didn't have a role called client partnerships, and we also didn't have HR. I had been a strategist for many, many years in other agencies. And Gary and I had met, and it was very easy to see that we were two sides of the same coin, and we believed in people, and we're both optimists.
Yeah.
Not Pollyanna, but we're both, I would
Mhm.
say, realistic optimists. And so when I started at Vayner, I was one of the oldest people. Everyone was like 23 years old, and I was 45. And I had the most work experience and lived experience. So I was put in charge of not only running an enormous account, I had about 60 people on the team, but also doing a lot of the interviewing, doing a lot of these like courageous conversations, doing a lot of the terminations if that needed to happen. And so one day I said to Gary, you know what? I'm no longer interested in advertising. Thank you so much for this opportunity, but I'm no longer interested. And he said, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I only care about the people here. I care about the heartbeat. And
Mm.
that's how we came back to Heart 9 months later. 9 months later, we sat down and he said, that's it. You're going to be Chief Heart Officer. So he saw something in Claude that wasn't her day job. My day job was running in a very enormous account. That was my day job of also taking care of 60 people. But I got very lucky in that my boss saw and sees something that he wanted to harness and use in the agency to scale him. So it takes someone seeing possibility, knowing that it's needed. So a leader knowing like they can't get to everyone anymore, right? The scale is too large. It takes someone understanding that this person is one that can drive accountability while being a very kind person. So there's a lot of trust. It also takes a lot of communication, and we communicate really on text because he's very busy, but we get a lot done that way. What I want to say is there were a trillion years I lived before working with Gary where I was the same person and I didn't work in these types of cultures, but I still was able to find like-minded, similar people with a heart to help. And we made little groups. We were unofficial mentors.
Mm.
We I think if you have that heart to help and you want things to be better and you want to encourage or teach or coach or whatever, do it. Don't
Mm.
wait to be asked.
Mm.
Just do it. And I think you will also be happier in your workplace because you'll be fulfilled on that almost that soul level of like, wow, I'm able to share something with this person and impart some of my lived experience and vice versa. And
Mm.
so those are things that you don't have to wait for the title and you don't have to wait for permission.
Yeah, and I always see, leadership, we always think about, hierarchy and positions and titles, but I see leadership as more of a mentality. It's more of a skill set that you build over a lifetime. It can be part of your legacy as a parent, at work, in your community, at church. Like leadership is such a, I think we've kind of again we've sterilized it in the context of work, when in reality it is a caregiver role.
I
Um, I certainly see leadership as a caregiving role, and you choose to do it every
Yeah.
day.
Every day you make a choice to be a leader. And for me, a leader isn't about rank and file, and it's not about beating my chest. It is, for me, leaders lead with love, and I am here and I work for people. I work with people. No one works for me. I don't like that. That language doesn't work for Claude. But my job is to improve your livelihood, your performance, your enjoyment in a workplace, and hopefully the world.
Yes.
I'm with you. It's a choice every single day that you get to make.
Yeah, and the impact of it is vast. To your point, the ripple effect, sending people happier, healthier home to their families,
Mhm.
their dining room tables,
Yes.
and then that ripples into the world. So,
Yes.
um, a lot of times I think we try to separate the outside world with work. And so our platform at Call for Culture is, if it's happening in the world, it's happening at work. And
Yes.
it's true. Like we need to get away from this like lack of integration, um, because work is a microcosm.
Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm, and there needs to be a synergy here. And by the way, I use the word synergy also when I'm talking about I don't think there is a work-life balance. I think there is a synergy that we all try to find for our own selves. I would also like to get to a place where it's life and work is a part of life rather than work life balance. That's something that you and I can get maybe by the time we take our last breaths,
I
we
love
will
that.
have gotten there.
Life work synergy
Yeah.
is sounds spot on and where we're going.
Yeah.
And that's a really great segue, I think, into I know you mentioned your book early on. We didn't talk a lot about it. We've been talking about it in
Yeah.
conversation, but Be Yourself at Work is your new book.
Yes.
And I would love to hear more about it. We'll make sure to put all the links in the show notes. People can access it. But tell us a little bit more about it and what it's about.
Yeah. Great. I mean, be yourself at work literally takes you on a journey of understanding who you are. So you are the CEO of you. Only you can change you. Only you are in charge of you. And so let's understand who you are. So it's going to take you on a little bit of a self awareness journey. And it's going to talk to you. The book is going to walk you through in very, very easy ways. What is your own judgment of yourself? How do you label yourself? And what does that do to yourself? When you choose to not show yourself and put up armor every single day, what does that cost you when you walk into the workplace or you turn on your laptop? Because I know I can feel it when I'm like, up, shutting down. Hi, how's everyone doing? Right? I mean, so what is that costing you? And then little by little, getting comfortable with who you are through these exercises and deciding to start showing up differently in the workplace with your teams, with your friends, with your cohort, whatever it is. Start being able to express yourself in a way that you trust, that you're confident in, bringing that to the teams, helping solve conflict, doing things like appreciating one another. I have a whole exercise, the appreciation circle, which we truly don't do, bringing more rituals into our teams so that your Monday morning stand up isn't like, okay, everyone, this is what we're doing. It might be like, hey, let's settle for a second. Let's go around the Zoom very quickly and say one word that described our weekend. I don't know. Just
Mhm.
be creative.
Yeah.
And so then it takes you on this journey of you on a team, and then finally you as a leader emerging with self-awareness, with the understanding of emotional intelligence, but also, as I say, emotional fluency, how to speak, how to talk about your feelings in a way of owning it, being accountable, pointing thumbs at yourself, not fingers, and what that does to a culture. So again, what I'm not suggesting is someone go dive into the deep end and all of a sudden be like, this is me and I'm, oh my God, and this happened and this happened. And when I was 6, I felt different. No one needs to know that. But it is nice to start to share bits and pieces of yourself because, like you say, we are spending so much time at work. Why is there such a difference between how we act at work and how we act when we're playing soccer with
Mm.
our friends?
Hmm.
Right? We're the same. And I think, again, I would like to think we all want to, and this is not the right word, but exploit each other's strengths rather than be envious or be jealous or watching people politic. So the book takes you on a lot of journeys with different case studies, with stories of me where I've fallen on my butt 8 million times, times in which I didn't belong. So, I mean, obviously, I'm writing this book because I can relate to it. There are times in my life I haven't been myself, and I walk through that. But I've also been in the workplace for a very long time and I've watched people just shrink. And I don't want to see that anymore. It's not necessary. But there has to be changes put in place before someone can feel like I can show up today. You know what? I'm going to show up today and I'm going to wear these sparkly sneakers because that's who I am rather than these loafers.
Mm.
I guess it comes down to if you're a giraffe, be a giraffe. Don't be a zebra.
I love that. Gosh, I mean, we covered so much ground, and I think it does come back to how do we create the environment and the climate and the space for that to happen. So, from a leadership perspective, I think that's our responsibility. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that you've written a book for the masses to say, how can you do this a little bit more, maybe unapologetically is not the right word, but in a way, saying like this is who I am, but this is also how I show up in relation to other people,
That's
because
right.
that's the key, I think.
Yeah. And I'm a work in progress.
Hmm.
Because again, who's the smartest person in the room? The room. It's all of us together.
Yes. Well, Claude, I could talk to you literally all day.
Like that. Like,
We'll definitely need to have another episode
yes.
at some point, but
Yes.
let everybody know how they can find you if they want to reach out. Again, we'll make sure the link to the book
Thank you.
is in the show notes.
Yeah, great. My website is claudesilver.com, and I'm really on LinkedIn a lot. So write me either on my website or write me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to chat with you. I really do try to get back to everyone that writes. Um, I want this to be better for all of us.
Same, same. And thank you for all you do. We're really excited to have you in Chicago in May.
Great.
And thank you. Thank you for bringing this, not just awareness, but example and role modeling and really painting the picture of what a possibility could look like. And I know we're all fighting for the same thing. And it's going to take some time to make the shift, but I think you are an example, with Gary around how this can actually work, not just from a nice to have or it's the right thing to do, but truly from like a performance perspective. Like this can change and transform organizations and people at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you in May.
Thank you, Claude.